Alright guys, welcome to another video. This video here is going to be the test results from upgrading my PC. Those of you that didn't catch the last video, I recently upgraded my PC because I couldn't edit the Autel Evo's 4K 60 video very well. It was, I could do it, but it was, not a good experience. Definitely not the ideal setup. So after upgrading the graphics card, because I thought I might get away with that if I just had a little bit more graphics power, it turns out that was dead wrong. But one of the things that we did learn really quickly is that if you're wanting to build a gaming computer and that's your main focus and you do a little side editing, you don't need the latest greatest processor. That 4790K Intel processor that I had before was able to just go right through any game I threw at it as far as the processor goes. So once I upgraded the graphics card, that was the big thing there. If you're looking to build a gaming computer, you can do it for a lot less money because you do not need the latest greatest hardware as far as the processor and motherboard goes for gaming. You just don't. A lot of people think that and they build a monster PC for gaming, but if that's really all you want to do, you can save some money. Now, as far as the editing goes, we found out really quickly that the graphics card upgrade didn't do much of anything at all for my problem. Once I upgraded the processor and ran some more benchmarks, we found out pretty quickly that Adobe Premiere is very heavily processor based. It relies really heavily on the processor and very little at all with the graphics card. Found that out the hard way, just kind of experimenting and whatnot. So what I went with the upgrade was I went with the MSI Tomahawk motherboard. It's a B450 chipset, and after doing a lot of research, my intention originally was to go with the Ryzen 7 3700X, and then at the last minute I pulled out of that and I decided to go, because of an amazing sale, I decided to go with the 2700X, the Ryzen 7 2700X. So, and then the memory, I switched to G.Skill 3200 and 32 gigs of RAM. Okay, so that's what we did for the memory. And then we slapped that together in my old case. I didn't even buy a new case. I was trying to do this just as cheap as I possibly could. That being said, if you have any questions about the PC build or the parts that I used, I didn't cover something or I missed something, comment below and I'll answer them for you. So let's take a look at some tests after the upgrade. Let's start with gaming first. With gaming, so let's bring up Firestrike here. I took a little more time with this video than I did the last video because I didn't think anybody would care about that video. It turns out that a lot of people watched it. I was really surprised at the amount of people that watched it. You guys are probably all having the same issues that I was. So if I'd have known that, I would have spent more time with the video like I am now. So here's what we're looking at for Firestrike, and this is just a benchmark for those of you that don't know. This is just a gaming benchmark, well known, it's well used, everybody uses it, and let's just kind of go over what the deal is. This bottom line right here is where we started. This is exactly where we started this whole mess from. This is before I did anything at all. This is the 4790K with the original graphics card, which was the 7970. That's right. All these numbers and nomenclatures are really hard to keep straight. I don't ever write anything down, so it's all from memories. This is what we started with, and it's not, a bad score. It'll definitely, this right here would play definitely almost any 1080p game. Probably medium settings, maybe some at high, like Counter-Strike or something like that. You could play at, high settings and stuff. But a respectable score, definitely nothing to balk at. And then this next score, this 14700, is the change of the graphics card. This is going from 7970 to the NVIDIA 2060 RTX, and that's like a humongous jump. It's almost double the amount of score. I mean, it's just a humongous jump, and it felt like a humongous jump. With that said, and then this 15115 is just with me overclocking stuff, playing with some overclocking, and didn't, as you can see, it helped, but it didn't really help a lot. This next score is the score with the new Ryzen CPU. So you can see that the difference between where we were before the processor upgrade and where we were with just the graphics card change, it's not a gigantic difference. It is a pretty big difference, but it's not like night and day. It felt about the same as how it felt as far as like actual gaming. But that's what we're looking at there. So this is another example of the CPU really wasn't the most important thing to upgrade if gaming was your goal. Okay, so let's look at another one now. Okay, now this is Time Spy. Time Spy is a benchmark used to benchmark like the latest greatest games, DX12 as opposed to DX11 games. And these are all the latest, greatest, things that are in games and stuff. So this works things a little bit harder, gives us a better idea of what we can expect gaming-wise. Okay, the 4907 is where we started. That's where everything rolls off the showroom without touching anything. The 6807 is what we jumped to, replacing the graphics card, and that is a huge jump. It felt like a huge jump. It was a huge jump. The 6877 is the overclocking I was messing with. We didn't really get a performance boost here. Didn't matter. That didn't matter. And then up here, the 7593 is the new processor and the new motherboard, all the upgrades, new memory, all that. This definitely proves that the CPU is not the most important upgrade if you're looking for video game performance. Clearly, it was the graphics card. I mean, that's what this shows. Okay, and then the next one will be the Adobe rendering or the Adobe Performance, Adobe Premiere Performance. This is a benchmark developed specifically for Adobe Premiere. So let's take a look at that. This actually goes backwards, I guess. I guess I did this. Yes, I did this in reverse. So at the top, we're going to start where I started. This is where everything started off. The top one is 4K 60. The bottom one is 4K 30. The two separate lines are the rendering performance and the playback performance. Playback performance is anytime you have multiple streams through overlays or through the, like Illuminati filter or gradiating the color, any of those types of things, any of those counts as a separate stream. So multiple streams, and it's where you get the herky jerkiness on the timeline. So that's measuring the playback performance. At 4K 60, our score is 4548 before we did anything. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And at 4K 30, 6962 was okay. It wasn't great. I could work with that. I wasn't complaining any. It was when I went to 4K 60 where I was like, oh man, this sucks. Okay, so now the middle score, this is where I changed the graphics card. This is where I just changed the graphics card. No modifications to the computer at all. Now we jumped up at 4K 60, we jumped up to 6163. Now we're in the usable range. We can edit 4K 60 video now. It's not great. It's not an awesome experience. It's not completely smooth. There are herky jerkiness to it. I can definitely not do more than one 4K 60 feed. That is for sure. So that's what we're looking at. But the 4K 30 definitely became totally usable. The 4K 30 with the 4790 completely smoothed that out. I would say almost wasn't having any trouble with the 4K 30 with just the graphics card change. Okay, so now let's go down to the new processor, all the new, the complete PC upgrade. Now you can see that now we're in awesome mode. Like we're really getting really good performance now. 4K 60 with the new 2700X, no problems. It does occasionally do a hiccup, you know, or I don't know what to call it, like a hitch. It's totally fine. I can do multiple streams. I can do color grading. I can do everything now. There is nothing that can't be done now. Completely happy with the performance, and I didn't have to overclock anything or do any tweaking or anything. Just right out of the box, it works like it's supposed to. It works perfect. Nice and smooth. Now the 4K 30 is off the chart. It's totally smooth. It's like I'm rendering 1080 30 frames a second now. It's smooth as glass. It doesn't drop any frames. I haven't been able to do anything while editing to make this computer stumble in any way. So that's what we're looking at. So conclusions here, things I want to say. If you want to use Adobe Premiere with 4K 60 video, I would recommend not going below the 2700X Ryzen 7. That's my recommendation based on what I'm seeing here and based on my experience. You want to have a better experience than I did, then you could go higher. 3700X, 3900X, you would have even a better experience. But I wouldn't go below the 2700 because, like I said, at 4K 60, I do see every once in a while a jitter or a judder, not 100% glass smooth. So that's just my recommendation. And again, 32 gigs of RAM, is it necessary? I don't know, because I started at 32 gigs of RAM. I used to have 16 gigs of RAM. So I'm gonna say it's probably not absolutely necessary to have the 32 gigs of RAM. I would say that it's definitely very helpful. It would be nice if you would do an upgrade that you shoot for 32 gigs of RAM. Graphics card, I don't think you need to go as high. If you're not going to game, I don't think you need to worry as much about the graphics card. I would still get an NVIDIA graphics card if you're looking to use Adobe Premiere, because it uses the CUDA cores to help with rendering. It's not a huge deal. It's not like if you get a smoking deal on a Radeon card, definitely don't feel like you have to have an NVIDIA card, because the Radeon card will still work fine. It's just a little bit of a performance boost if you get the NVIDIA graphics card. Other than that, I think that about wraps it up. If you have any questions, definitely drop them in the comments down there. You know, thanks for watching. I'll keep testing. I'm testing some live streaming. As some of you guys might have noticed, there's some live streams on my channel now. I'm testing some gaming out. I'm just kind of fooling around with some different things computer-wise right now. I'll keep you posted with the different things I come up with. I guess that's about it. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you later. On that end.